What's up, everybody? This is Nurse Blue, and you know Blue stands for Build, Love, Unite, and Empower people about my favorite subject, y'all, and hopefully soon to be yours, soul health. So, over the next few minutes, I want to empower you to defeat our number one enemy in health to everyone on this planet. Okay, that's how powerful it is. Let me reveal what that is. It's chronic stress, right? And what people don't realize is that the whole idea of how we have taught you how to manage chronic stress is absolutely crazy because it is our number one killer. Why do you want to cope with your killer? It's like coping with poison. Why would you want to manage your killer? No, you have to learn about how that killer operates. You have to put a plan in place and you have to totally defeat that killer. And that killer is our number one enemy, chronic stress. So, for those of you who are looking for ways to get rid of your number one killer, I want you to do this. I need you to subscribe to this channel and I need you to give me a thumbs up because chronic stress leads to chronic disease. And honey, you do not have time for that life. Now, I'm grabbing my iPad here because I want to make sure that I provide you guys with all of what you need to deal with chronic stress. First of all, chronic stress is a soul health problem, right? So you need a soul health solution. First and foremost, you have to embrace soul health. And why should you embrace soul health? Well, it starts here. First of all, you are a spiritual being. What does that mean? That means you are made of energy, right? Like this energy you see here in my studio here. You're made of energy. That energy is absolutely incredibly remarkable and it's made of, it's infinite, it's unlimited. Now, that energy, it has a soul. And each one of us have a soul. But here's the thing, that's the invisible part of us. And it's made of three parts. Now, with these three parts, you create your life. The soul is made of your subconscious mind. Now, that's where you store all of those beliefs that you really hold. Like, look at your life, whether you love it or hate it, you built it from your subconscious mind, right? Also, it has your emotional body. Now, here's the thing about the emotional body. We know it exists, but we have not been taught how to properly operate our emotional system, which is why we have this whole thing now called emotional intelligence, because we are trying to become intelligent about our emotions, right? But with the subconscious mind and the emotions, you get to create your life. And it's one more part. It's called your will. Now, your will, that's where you build your habits, your patterns of behavior. And when the subconscious mind and the emotional body are in alignment with the will, you're living your best life, sweetheart. You are truly activating at a high vibrational frequency, which is where you want to be. But if it's out of alignment, you're not living your best life. And that's why Nurse Blue is here because, honey, the only thing that can keep you from living your best life is your number one killer. And that's chronic stress. So let me share with you a few things about chronic stress so we can begin to get rid of that demon today. Well, and that's exactly what it is. The nature of chronic stress is to take over your soul. Really, it's an oppressive spirit. In the Bible, it probably will be referred to as the legion of demons because it is so lethal. So when you think about chronic stress, it's coming to take over your thoughts. It's coming to destabilize your emotions. It's also because it is taking over your subconscious mind and taking over your emotional body, it's going to have an impact on your habits. So typically when you are suffering from chronic stress, you're probably doing more to destabilize the body. You might be eating more of the wrong foods, right? Your habits might be one of distraction or numbing out or avoidance, whatever it is, it might be a chemical addiction that you're battling, where you only feel good if you're smoking or if you're drinking or you're popping a pill or you're taking a substance to help you manage your life. Right? That's when you know chronic stress is there. Chronic stress is also there if you can't sleep at night, or you're waking up throughout the night for various reasons. Or you wake up tired. You've had 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but you wake up tired because you feel weighed down by life. If you have chronic stress, you're probably experiencing some inflammation in your joints, right? Or you go into the doctor's office and they're telling you that your, as they analyze your blood, they're looking at your ranges of what's happening in your body and it's out of balance. Things are elevated. Maybe your blood sugar is high. Maybe your blood pressure is higher than normal. Maybe you picked up a few pounds, right? All of that can be related to chronic stress, and that is what leads to diseases. So when you start thinking about what kinds of diseases run in your family, when you go to the doctor's office and you're filling out the paperwork, right? You ever notice they're asking you about your family history? Well, that's why they're asking you. Because if your mother and your father or your grandparents or your siblings have a chronic disease, chances are because you grew up in the same household, because you probably have the similar eating habits, and because their patterns of behavior shape your own, it's likely that you would have that. So that's why you have people who, like my family, we have chronic diseases run throughout: heart disease, cancers, autoimmune deficiencies, arthritis. These were chronic diseases that if I did not learn what soul health was all about, I would be suffering from disease, right? And absolutely I was diagnosed. I was on my way down that path. I was diagnosed with psoriasis over 20 years ago, came out of nowhere. And here was my option. Either I was going to live with a chronic disease, which meant I had to take medications all the time, hoping that it did not destroy my body, which, no one could promise me that it couldn't, or I had to learn another way. And soul health was my way. And so I'm here to share with you, if you don't want chronic stress to trigger your autoimmune deficiency or trigger something that you were once diagnosed with that right now you don't have right now, or you want to come off medication, then you have to defeat your number one trigger: chronic stress. Okay, so now that I hope you've made the decision that you're ready to defeat chronic stress, all right, let me share with you one of the ways you can. Okay. How many of you are existing in a toxic environment, a home environment that's toxic, a work environment that's toxic, an environment by yourself that you know is toxic? All of that contributes to chronic stress, because what's happening, the reason why it's lethal for you to be in those environments is because it contributes to soul toxins. And soul toxins are what chronic stress are made from. It's the poisonous thoughts we have about ourselves or that people are saying to us. Because if you are in a toxic environment, chances are you're around people with toxic energy, and they're constantly talking about things to lower the energy. Maybe you're in an environment where they keep the news on 24 hours, 7 days a week, and you're hearing about all of the craziness that's happening in the world, and it's lowering your spirits. Or you have people who are in states of unwellness, like a lot of nurses. Hospitals are toxic environments, guys. Hospital is do you know that the hospital now is the third leading cause of death? The hospital. That's a toxic environment. And when chronic stress is in your life, you are operating at a low vibrational frequency. Those are frequencies that are fear-based. So you might have anger, short-temperedness, frustration. You might be carrying shame or guilt or whatever it is. Those are all low vibrational frequencies. And so here's the cure for it all, because I'm never going to bring you a problem without providing you with a solution. But before I go there, I want to tell you a quick story. And this is why this is so passionate. I'm so passionate about us dealing with chronic stress. When I was a little girl, there was a woman who my mother was friends with. She was a nurse. And this woman was absolutely incredible. She was beautiful. She was successful. And what I meant by successful, we're talking about back in the early 70s. The late 70s or early 80s. This woman was what women at that time looked up to. She had a great family, two boys, one who had gone to private school and was going off to Northwestern to do great things. She was involved in her community. She was active with her sororities and probably belonged to some of the highly esteemed social groups of that time, the Links or the Girlfriends or other, high society kind of activities, right? And she was so kind to me. Someone that came into the room dressed to the nines, had style, had class. And I didn't spend a lot of time with her, but I just remember her having a beautiful impression. And she was the first nurse that I really knew, right? From a distance, but admired her. Well, I would have never imagined that this beautiful woman that I would be reading on the front page of the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper, of this woman who I looked up to, who because of soul toxins, the pressure that she was living in inside and around her would lead her to take a gun and attempt to kill her son by shooting him in the head, but he lived, but then taking her own life. It didn't make sense to me. She looked like she had it all together. I looked up to this woman. What would lead a woman to a point where she would be willing to kill the very son she loved with all her heart and leave a life where her husband and her two boys would be destroyed by the outcome? Soul toxins, chronic stress did that. And it doesn't have to be a story that is that tragic, but it can be, as I told you, it can lead, chronic stress will lead you to a preventable disease, heart disease, preventable, cancer, in many cases, preventable. Many of it, doing the right things can even make some of it manageable, and in some cases, potentially reversible. Soul health is where it is. That's the solution. I'm talking about Alzheimer's dementia. My dad, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because my own father died of another chronic disease, dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. This was a man who worked out every single day of my life, and I promise you, I am not exaggerating. This is a man who never smoked. This is a man who never drank. This is a man who never popped pills. How could it be that this man would die the way he did? Living in a body that was of no use to him, living in a hospital bed where he was gracious and blessed to have, he was graced to have one of the best nurses, caretakers, and my brother and my mother to support him fully. That would not have been the life that a giant would want to live. So toxic. So I say all that to say chronic stress is rooted in soul toxins. And if you want to get rid of chronic stress, then I invite you to experience the number one medicine that will get rid of it. It's called joy. Joy. If you learn how to get good at joy, and it's at the root of learning how to love your soul back to health, Chronic stress can't have you no more. It can't have you no more. And if this is not all making sense to you, or if it's making all the sense in the world, I want to invite you, now that you've been around to hear my heart about this, come and join me. I'm a musicologist, and music is a tool that I use. So if you love great music, music is a medicinal. Um, Music is here to build us, to love us, unite us, and empower us. And I have jam sessions actually on Clubhouse. So download the Clubhouse app, come to this, and become a member of the Soul Health and Wellness Club. Okay. And I'm also in the Women in Business House. So if you are a woman in business, or a woman who would like to be, in a room with women in business, and men, if you cater to women in business, y'all need to be a part of that house. It's over 300,000 members. And I host I Deserve Joy parties there, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Come and be a part of it, because it's all about learning how to elevate your energies in a space where you can learn how to, what soul health is all about, and how to rebuild your soul, because being in emotionally toxic environments erode your soul, because you're betraying yourself by staying there for abuse. And there's a lot of damage that can be done, especially if we're talking about emotionally abusive environments where narcissists have, you're surrounded by people who don't see you, who don't care about you, and who invalidate you. And it could very well be because it's how you pay the bills. That's where you make the big bucks, but at the expense of your soul. Long term, it could potentially lead to some major health challenges. And if you are in a household where that environment is taking place, um, I want you to know that there are resources for you here on my YouTube channel that can support you. Come to my jam session. Let me love on you. I host self-love parties. Um, on Clubhouse in the Soul Health and Wellness Club on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. And we can, kick it off there. And I have replays. So if you guys can't make it to the live experience because you're somewhere in the world and you're like, I don't want to get up that early, no problem. I have replay experiences for you. And if you want joy, let's start with a I Deserve Joy party. You'll find me in the Women in Business House Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And that's also Eastern Standard Time. So I hope this was helpful to you. Please, your health is too important. Stop coping with your killer. Stop managing your killer. Defeat your killer. And your killer on planet Earth is chronic stress. And you can defeat it with learning how to master joy. So let's take the vibrational frequency all the way up with parties and a great system, a great strategy that's designed to increase your peace. And peace is the acronym of, is the plan. It's a plan of effective action to calm your emotions, because that will lead to the medicine of joy that you need. Okay. All right, guys. I've said enough. And again, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if this was helpful to you. Look forward to seeing you at one of the parties at Clubhouse. Bye.